Say it ain't true, man.
Where'd you find this?
This is Fats Barbershop Club.
Brought to you by Fat's Fresh Cuts. It's more than a barbershop.
And here's your host, Ladarius Fat Man.
All eyes on me.
Daddy's working.
Welcome to my town. What's up, Rustin? What's up, everybody? I am Fat. This is Fat's Barbershop Club, man. Real topics, real views, real people. And today I have in the building with me, Mikel Key, right?
Yes, sir.
Not Keys, it's
Oh,
Key.
K-E-Y, like a keychain.
Key, Mikel Key, man. Hey, it's always a pleasure for you to, for me to always see you and always be the respectable guy as if we just been knowing each other,
Yes, sir.
From who knows when, right?
Right.
Man, I appreciate you for coming through. We're gonna talk about some real estate, financial things, how you dibble and dabble some life,
Perfect.
family.
Perfect.
We're gonna dibble dabble in a couple things, man. Just keeping it real with the people,
Okay.
But before we go any further, man, just look in that camera, like I say, and tell the people what's up, Rustin.
Hey, I'm Mikel Key, so I'm actually not from Ruston.
Right.
I'm from Baton Rouge. Born and raised, lived there my entire life.
Yeah.
Left Baton Rouge and went over to Navarro Community College to play basketball
Okay.
after high school. And what ended up happening was my family is originally from Mendon, Louisiana.
Okay.
And I always loved coming up to Mendon. So after I finished at Navarro playing basketball, I went back to Baton Rouge for a little while and went to school at LSU.
Okay.
And the first opportunity I got to move to Mendon, I did kind of wanted to be close to family, wanted to be close to my grandmother, and different things like that. And then from there, it's kind of when my entrepreneurial journey started. I started selling shoes out of the trunk, and then started working in retail and went back to school, got my MBA. And then from there, it's kind of when my real professional journey took off. But, been here in Ruston now for over a decade. My kids here, Ruston High, Ruston Elementary, I.A. Lewis. So we love it here and probably look forward to being here for at least the foreseeable future.
Okay, that's cool, man. I actually on today just did my first day at I.A. Lewis as assistant football coach.
Oh, wow.
And,
Mikel Key, my son.
Yeah. So I saw him up there and I was able to see those kids, man. But y'all, what's up, Rustin? Hey, we here. We doing our thing. We got Mikel Key in the building. Let me go over here and grab my phone, man, because I'm being all unprofessional.
Yeah.
And don't have my stuff together, but it's
Let's
all
do it.
good.
Let's
We gonna make it do.
Okay.
And here we go. Y'all excuse me. I'm being all extra because I'm just getting back in. Like I said, I was over at the school.
Take your time.
So I
Let's
was
do it.
getting everything together, man. Here we go. Like, share, and subscribe this video. While we in the midst of things, let everybody know I got Mikel Key in the building. Fast Barbershop Club, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Y'all go over and check that out. Share it. Gave an introduction of yourself, man. So what made you come here to Ruston? You were talking about Mendon, going down in Baton Rouge, but what kind of got you based here right now?
So what ended up happening was I was a corporate manager for a specific retail company.
Okay.
And they offered me a position here in Ruston. And at the time I was working in Shreveport. So I took that position and that was ultimately how I moved to Ruston.
Gotcha.
I'm actually moved here with a job.
Gotcha.
And then just kind of made this my base. Had a couple kids here, and then from there I just said, hey, I'll live here. I like it here. So this will be my hub.
Yeah.
So that's ultimately how I landed here in Ruston.
Ruston, cool, man. So let's jump into the real estate.
Perfect. Let's do it.
All right. So we got a mutual friend, man, and he was like, we got to get this show right here going.
Mm-hmm.
And I agreed with him. I think that this is what we needed. because I'm a first time home buyer.
Right.
You know, I'm in 2 years now,
Mhm.
which is still brand new.
Right. Right.
You know, when it comes to homes, especially with the projects, you know, in getting things back how you want it, or not just back how you want it, but how you want it. Making sure electrical is everything good, the AC unit, making sure, you know, after you've been in it for a while, making sure it's still good. So all these things are brought upon you. So when you got into your first investment,
Okay.
um, what was it like when you realized, like, okay, I gotta take care of this, and this?
So, you know, in real estate, obviously, there's a lot of different. There's so many different things you can do. You know, what you're mainly talking about is like buying an existing house and flipping it or
Yeah.
renovating it to live in it.
Yeah.
Well, man, my introduction into real estate was a little bigger. I started off building houses,
Okay.
like off the bat,
From
from the ground up. And what we call that is we call it spec homes.
Okay.
And spec homes, it's the real term of it is a speculative house. And you see them all going up in a lot of these new neighborhoods in Bossier where all the houses kind of look the same.
Yeah.
They call those spec houses, and you build them without a buyer in mind. You build it, and then once you finish building it, you list it to sell.
Mhm.
So it's flipping. It's flipping houses, but it's not the flipping that we know. The flipping that we know is buying an existing house and then renovating and then selling. This one, you build it new from the ground up.
Okay.
And that's how I got into real estate.
Okay.
So it was a little bit easier for me because I wasn't having to go into an old home, and when you buy it and you start renovating it, then you find out things that's wrong with it that you couldn't see when you was going in.
Right.
This is different. You know, I started off with foundation, concrete. From there, then you framing it up. So the stages were a lot easier to understand. So it was a lot easier for me.
Okay.
Now, to answer your question, when I started buying older homes and remodeling them, that's when the headache started, because that was I came from the new construction world where I was building houses and selling them, and everything is a lot easier. Well, when you buying these existing houses, there's things that you can't see when you're going into it,
Right.
Which you're gonna have a shit ton of aha moments.
Yeah.
And so when I did my first renovation of an older house, it was kind of like, I couldn't see the electrical going in. I didn't even know that the inspector may come out and tell me this whole house got to be rewired.
Yeah.
You know, it got to be replumbed, or, you know, it's just so many unknowns. So yeah, my first flip project was, I lost a lot of money on the project, and it was just every step of the project was a learning experience for me.
Okay. So what's okay. So what inspired you to get into the real estate?
All right. So what ultimately inspired me to get into real estate, man, was I've been working in the corporate world after I got my MBA for almost 10 years.
Okay.
And I ended up getting laid off, losing the job.
Okay.
And from there, my realtor that had sold me my first house in Ruston, she had just kind of planted the seed in my head one day. She was like, man, you'll be a really good real estate professional. You should really look into it. And at that time, I was making six figures, had a cushion job. I was like, I don't know if it's for me. But when you go through adversity, it kind of prompts you to say, well, man, what is this beyond boss stuff all about?
Yeah.
So when I started to, have career adversity, that was one of the things that led me kind of looking into real estate and saying, what could I do? How could I, pay my own future in this real estate world? And I ultimately became a realtor with Keller Williams. And, I never looked back after that.
Right. Okay. That's cool. So how did you go about financing your first
my first deal?
First deal.
So my first deal, as I told you, was 2 spec homes.
Okay.
And I financed it here with a local bank, Century Next Bank. Okay. And kind of like what we'll probably get into a little bit later in this conversation is information is key. Okay. And a lot of times, especially in our community, we don't have access to information. Well, at that time, I had a good banker that he taught me about loan to value, which loan to value is the appraised amount. So the worth of that property versus how much money you're choosing to borrow. And what he told me was that if you can make that whole entire project come up under a certain threshold, you can get 100% of the money up front to do the project. So I did a loan asked to be completed request to get 100% of the funds to do my first 2 projects, and I was approved. Obviously, at that time, I had a good job making good money.
Yeah.
So the loan process was pretty easy for me to get approved. So I went through and got a loan to do my first 2 projects and didn't have to put any money down on it.
So, I mean, black man going to the bank, going for a loan, man, it ain't easy for just everybody, right? How do you go about choosing that bank like that?
Well, so I think that's the beauty that, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs, especially black entrepreneurs, are starting to really understand now that, local banking institutions, not the Chases, not the Wells Fargos, the CenturyNext banks, the Louisiana National banks, the Origin banks, which Origin is a bigger bank now, but your local banks are a lot easier to deal with. And they're typically very supportive with helping improve the community. So I think as a black man, the playing field, obviously we're going to have hurdles to overcome because we don't have the information. Most of us don't grow up with, people mentoring us and telling us about credit and different things like that. But, as a black entrepreneur, the biggest thing that you can do for yourself is surround yourself with people who can help you put a loan package together, who can help you go look at a property, get bids, get cost analysis. So when you go to the bank, you actually sound like you know what you're talking about.
Right.
And as long as when you're approaching that bank, you know what you're talking about, you have your credit history in place. If you don't have your credit history in place, you have a good cosigner in place who can come stand with you on that loan. I think that, we're getting to the point now where, pretty much anybody could get a loan if they know how to put it together.
Yeah, I think so too, man. I've been through those processes and I've seen like, whoa, dang, as long as we do it, we can, as long as we pay for it, we can get it.
For sure, without a doubt.
That's what all matters. That's all that matters at the end of the day. From what I see, hey, you pay it, they'll keep giving it. As long as you pay what you're obligated to pay.
Yeah,
and that's a lot of the issues. A lot of people not paying.
Yeah.
But man, what are some of the main problem areas to look for in like a potential home that somebody's interested in buying to rent out, like just some property? Because that's like one of those goals for me. The home that I'm in now become a property.
Become a rental property.
Rental property.
Gotcha. Okay.
So what do you have for someone that's ready to get into that?
The first thing I'll say is obviously, let's look at the price first.
Okay.
Because price drives everything. So if let's say your first rental property you get for you got under contract, you got an agreement with the owner to sell it to you for $50,000.
Okay.
But let's say that it's in an area where completely renovated, houses are worth $200,000. Then obviously the leeway for you to be able to really go all out on that project is there because you got so much meat on the bones in terms of what you're getting it for versus what it's worth. So you'll want to go in and probably look at, cosmetic, put new paint on the walls. You want to look at the electrical, make sure that the electrical's good. You got good light fixtures up. You kind of want to do a full blast remodel. But for somebody who's just looking to get into real estate and get their first property, you want to start small and then you want to pay attention to obviously the foundation.
Okay.
You want to make sure that, if you're buying a house on a slab, then, you don't have any crack foundation issues where the house is shifting. You want to obviously make sure that, if it has central air conditioning in it, that the AC is in good place. And if not, you want to get a good qualified bid on what it would cost to fix it. You want to make sure your plumbing's good. A lot of the older houses come with clay pipes. And those are just problematic. At some point, they start breaking in the grounds, especially if you have roots in the ground, so that you have to redo that totally. But I would say if the biggest thing would be foundation. If you got a good solid house on a slab and it was built in 1960, 1970, our grandparents and the forefathers, man, they took pride in what they built.
Right.
And a lot of the best houses, the best structural houses are older houses, not these newer houses. It's the older houses. They're in really good shape. But I would just say foundation, number one. Anything else other than that can be fixed. But just to give you a good gem on that, if you hire a good licensed home inspector, they'll go through the house like a fine-tooth comb, and they'll tell you everything that's wrong with that house before you buy it. So you should always get a home inspection on anything that you get under contract or you looking to buy. Because the question that you just asked me, what are some things to look out for? You hire a good inspector, he's gonna tell you, hey, foundation jacked up, plumbing got to be brought up to code, all that. So they'll go through and tell you everything you need to know.
So get a good inspector.
And
everything will be good. Everything will be good.
Well, you at least know, like, what I see lately is like a lot of new investors, they go out and buy a house, and they don't do good due diligence on it. Yeah. So when they buy it, they relying on like Zillow and some of these online sites to tell them what that house is worth.
Right.
And, like anything, the computers can make mistakes sometimes. And a lot of these home values that we see online are not actual home values. So they'll go in and overbuy a house. They'll pay too much for it. And then they'll start doing renovations on it. And when they get done, they'll realize that the house is not worth what they thought it was going to be worth.
Right.
So I think going in, truly understanding what the end value of the ARV after repair value is going to be on that house, I think that's the best way to go to make sure that that you don't overspend and that you don't buy a house that's in an undesirable area and spend $150,000 on a house on the tough side of your town and think you're gonna get $250,000 for it.
Yeah,
it's not gonna happen.
Right.
But you'd be surprised at how many people are on the computer buying houses in Louisiana, Georgia, Alabama, and they never go look at it.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
That is crazy. We're gonna hit these comments, man. Derek Jones said, tell my guy Mikel, what's up, man?
Hey, look. So what a lot of people don't know is I'm also a licensed sports agent.
Okay.
So tell Derek I need to sign this soon.
Yeah. Derek. Hey, man.
Oh, his son balling right now.
You hear it right here.
Tell Derek he must got it from his mom. I know he ain't no good athlete.
Oh, man. Larry Jones said ARV after repair value. That's what that is. Okay. So yeah, y'all. Hey, share this video, man. We are giving out some gems. I don't know how many more questions I can ask. So y'all gotta throw the questions in the comments. We will get to them. But hey, man, you good?
I'm good. No.
Good.
And another thing I'll just say, kind of about if we're talking about real estate, because real estate coincides with business also, and I'm not just a real estate guy. I'm also run business.
We running it,
right? So what I want to say is that, like, for a lot of people, man, like real estate and business is so intimidating.
Yeah.
And they say, well, Mikel's doing it, or we got in this area we have like Courtney Cooper. We got a lot of good African American realtors who have a good social media online presence.
Yeah.
And what I always try to tell people about real estate is, and our grandparents knew this well, because if you go back a couple of generations, none of what we're actually doing right now is new or revolutionary. They paved the way for property. They own land and they farmed their own land. They had rental houses and different things like that. And a lot of these African American communities, I think that we have to start looking at like we have to start looking at ways like if you have a job, you know, and if you're making $3,000 to $4,000 or $5,000 on your job, then what's a way that I can buy property or build a business so I can replace my salary? Because we talk about financial freedom and what that really looks like. And financial freedom to me or financial freedom to you is simply just making enough money to replace the lifestyle that I have right now. You know, a man could make $1 million a year,
right?
But if he spends $980,000 a year, then he only have $20,000 left.
Yeah.
But a man who makes $100,000 a year that saves $50,000 a year to put towards passive investments, he's a lot richer than that person who makes more money than him. So the information that we have to start sharing with our community is it's not really how much money you make,
right?
It's how much you do with what you make. And a good path to getting that financial freedom that we're all looking for is to just baby stepping and try to replace the salary that you have right now. Because once you do that, then technically you no longer need that job.
Yeah.
So you take the money from that job and then you just invest it 100%. There's so many guys, Home Depot, Walmart, Lowe's, you know, 30, 40-year associates who did nothing but did just what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Invest. And in 20 years, 20, 30 years down the line, you know, you got 7, 8 million put up because you just invested it and then it compounded over time.
Yeah.
You know, so information is important, man. It's not about trying to hit a home run. It's just every day saving $20, saving 50, saving 100, you know, and if you could just put that money back, then it'll grow.
Do you offer classes or instructional courses?
I do. If you follow me at Mikel Key on Instagram, Mikel Key obviously on Facebook, and I know most people follow me on Facebook. I do offer courses and mentorships, but I'm gonna tell you this, man. A lot of my stuff initially is free. You know, I have a class right now with like 5, 6 people in it, and the game to me, the game is not to be sold in the Black community. Like it's okay if you want me to mentor you, or if you want a guy out there who's doing a lot and you want him to mentor you, then obviously once you start eating into his time, then you have to figure out a good trade-off.
Right.
But initially, man, I don't know too many successful people that are really doing it at a high level that won't give you the information for free if you apply yourself. Right. But one thing I've noticed is that when it's free, people don't take it serious.
No.
You know, but yeah, man, I'm, you know, any questions, I'm in the industry, I'm a broker, so I'm a real estate broker. So obviously any questions that people will have about business or real estate, I'm willing to answer. And just remember, a real estate broker is not just real estate. We broker deals on businesses and everything. So we full everything.
Yeah. So what were some of the hurdles that you faced in real estate, business, you know, whatever? What are some of the hurdles that you've overcome, and how did you overcome those hurdles?
So I that's a good question. I wouldn't say I've overcame anything because every day I still go through challenges because I'm still learning. You know, as a 38-year-old professional, I'm just getting into the thick of this thing.
Yeah.
You know, so but I will tell you that, you know, when you're building a business, most businesses are going to be capital intensive businesses. So I think the biggest thing I've learned is, you know, don't give deals. I think in the past I've tried to be everything to everybody. Yeah. And once you're in business, you can't do that. You can't run a barbershop and charge your homeboys $5 to get a haircut, and you still gotta pay your lights and everything like that.
Can't happen.
Right. So I think I've overpromised and undelivered a lot. Another thing, like escalated commitment is a term that, you know, a lot of college educated people get, but it's just really believing in a project more than you should believe in it. And I think a lot of times when we hungry and we really want it that bad, we'll overlook things like certain financials on a project. You know, one guy may tell you that it's going to cost, you know, $100,000 to do this, but another guy may tell you he can do it for $25,000. And then you go with the cheapest bid only to figure out that, you know, it was going to cost $100,000 or more to do that. So a lot of times I've overlooked certain numbers to make a deal happen. And then when I get into the deal, I find out that I don't have enough money to do it because, you know, I was too committed to trying to make it happen for myself or that client.
Now what I put in it is going to equal up to what they were already offering,
right?
Or
So,
more.
Right. So that's been one learning. I think ego is everything for a lot of us, especially African American men, because we don't grow up with a lot of opportunities. Yeah. So when we start seeing a little traction, our ego start taking over. And I think that my ego has gotten me into so much trouble because I'm not listening to certain mentors when they've told me, go down this road and don't go down this road. I trust, my instincts, and a lot of times I went down the wrong road. Trying not to listen. Just because we know there's an overpass to get from this road to that road. Exactly. So I would say get you a good mentor that's where you want to be. Number one, have a good grasp about financials as it relates to business. Know what I make a lot of videos talking about, knowing your net operating income, knowing all of your expenses. So you got to know those things to know how to be profitable. Because at the end of the day, we're not just trying to have black businesses in our community. We want to have profitable businesses. And I think that's so important. So know your financials. Have a good mentor. I think those would be two things. If you could do that, you'll be light years ahead of the competition and everybody else that's in your industry. So what would you say one valuable lesson from all of those challenges that you're still overcoming? What would you say one valuable lesson that you have learned from those? I think just being a man of your word. And I think that, when you're not in business, it's so easy to, I can tell you, hey, look, I'm going to come do this podcast with you at 10 o'clock. Yeah. At the end of the day, I'm doing what I love to do. I love to market myself. I love to, see other brothers like yourself who's trying to do positive stuff in the community. So it's an easy commitment for me to come in here and do this. But I think a lot of times when you're in business and there's money on the line, I think that just understanding that the due diligence that you have to do as a business owner protects everybody else. And so that's why when you see people say, hey, you can't, go into business with your family and friends, or if you do, you have to be careful. You have to make sure you know what you're doing. And I think, before I applied myself, a lot of times I tried to put other people on, and I didn't even have all the information, which at the end of the day, it hurts your ability to keep your word with a lot of people because you're learning as you go. If you got $1,000 and you got to pay, 3 cousins because they work for you, but you got to also pay the bank that $1,000 because you don't know your financials, then somebody's going to be on the, outside looking in. Yeah. So not knowing, not being a true expert in your industry and trying to put people on first could just work against you, and it could damage, it could damage your word with people that you grew up with. So know your business before you try to bring other people in. That's what I would say. Okay. What let's see. What advice would you give someone who wants to follow a similar path? What advice would it, and this is just a question that I want to add to it. Would it be the same advice you would give your son? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So what would that advice be? So success, always remember this. Success is not the end game. So if you want to, real estate company, barbershop, or whatever entrepreneur journey that you're on, success is not $1 million in the bank. All right. Success is the day that you wake up and decide to log on and take that real estate test, or the day that you got up and decided that you wanted to pass the barber board test. Once you actually start your path and make steps towards that, then you're already successful. And then your measuring stick and your end game on how you're gonna play that game becomes money in the bank or number of clients that you acquire every week. Right. So, but I think what I would tell my son and what I would tell anybody is that if real estate is your journey and if you want to become a realtor, then go ahead and take the test and become a realtor. Yeah. You can't have, confidence just sitting on a couch. So, you have to get going, because once you get that energy, and energy is connected with everybody. You know what I'm saying? So if people know what you do, and if they see you moving towards that journey, then you're gonna start figuring out that the universe is gonna pull you more towards that. So I think that what I would tell anybody, man, is that whatever you want to do, just start doing it. You know, and then you will see that, you know, you'll ultimately get to that destination. Now, what trips a lot of people up is how they measure the destination. You know what I'm saying? Because we get so unhappy and depressed when we see other people on social media taking pictures by Lamborghinis and, you know, and I did this to make them. And most of it is not even real. Right. So we have to know that the success is in the journey, and it's not in the accolades.
That's it.
You know?
Yeah, I agree with that. 100%.
So I want my son, I want your son, I want, you know, Derek Jones or whoever it is, I want their son to know that, man, look, you already successful.
Yeah.
Just start on whatever you want to do and understand that there's going to be obstacles to come your way. But as long as you just keep going, you know, then you'll get the way you want to be.
I agree. 100%.
Don't stop, you know, whatever it is. We all going through the same thing, man. Yeah. So just keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you see yourself, you know, I know 5 years in the future is, you know, 5 years in the future, but do you see yourself still here in Ruston? Or are you branching out? Where do you see yourself?
So actually, that's a great question, because like I'm already like majority of the business that I do is not in Ruston.
Okay.
You know, the biggest portion of my business is in other areas. Yeah. And Ruston is just kind of like my hub. Gotcha. I have a few properties here and a few things that I do here in town, but a large portion of what I do is not in Ruston. So you know, obviously my kids like going to school here. But obviously, I'm hitting a level where, you know, I want more collaborations with other like-minded entrepreneurs, and obviously, you know, that market is probably, you know, bigger in other areas. So I am looking into possibly relocating at some point. Yeah. But I still got so much work to do here in Louisiana that, you know, I'm not even the biggest in the game here. Yeah. You know, so until, you know, I can truly feel like I've done everything that I'm supposed to do here, then I'm not gonna look, you know, down the line. So I would definitely say the next 5-10 years, you know, I'll probably still be here solidifying, you know, my base, and then after that, you know, I'll probably move around, you know, and you know, look at making other collaborations.
Yeah. That's cool, man. Cause I mean, I'm born and raised here in Ruston.
I didn't realize that. I thought you were from down south.
No, born and raised right here in Ruston, man. I had a brief vacation in North Carolina for 2 years. Okay. You know, but right back here. Yeah. So Ruston has been, you know, my foundation, you know, the frame, you know, it's been everything. But those 2 years away from Ruston really made me appreciate Ruston, know Ruston in a different eye, you know what I'm saying, and also learn how to handle Ruston. Right. You know what I'm saying? So being away from Ruston and having to handle myself in a different manner in this area, I said, well, let's just bring this back, you know, to Ruston, and it completely, you know, 20 years ago, completely changed everything.
Yep. And to be honest with you, you just said you gave them a jewel, and they might not catch it, but it's so important that, you know, with me born and raised in Baton Rouge, it was so important that I got away from Baton Rouge, not because I needed to get away, but because I needed to see something different. You know, I had high school classmates that I grew up with that never even been in New Orleans.
Right. And you know what I'm saying? 45 minutes.
Right. So there's people in Ruston who's never been to Baton Rouge. And there's some people in Ruston who's never been to Shreveport.
Exactly.
You know, so you got to understand that one of the greatest lessons that we could give any of these kids is to motivate them to leave. They don't have to stay gone forever.
Yeah, it's not to get away and stay. It's just to get away, learn.
See,
and if you stay, then hey, hopefully you're doing something totally different than what you were doing.
The problem with staying in your hometown is it's kind of like putting ants in a jar. Okay. And when they climb to the top where you done sealed it, then they can't they can't go above that.
Right.
But if you go to another area, then the lid is kind of off because they don't know you. Because growth is fear for people in our community and other communities in our family. It's not just black people; it's all surroundings.
Everybody.
People become fearful of you when you start becoming more than what you were supposed to be.
Who they know you to be.
And that's what happens with a lot of guys in Ruston, Minden, Farmerville, Monroe, Shreveport, these areas, is they get so accustomed to being judged off who they used to be that they always have that lid, and they don't ever be able to sit down with, a Mikel or somebody who's from a different area to say, man, look, you can actually be a lot more than what you are, because I've seen this guy doing the same exact thing that you're doing, and here's what he was able to do. So I think leaving opens up your mind so much, because you're able to see other entrepreneurs and other people, not even entrepreneurs, people, corporate guys, who are able to grow substantially outside of what they were accustomed to just because they left their hometown. So I think it's important that everybody need to leave at some point.
Right. Get out, see some things, grow, learn, man. There's so much out there to learn. I when I went to North Carolina, man, it was, first of all, North Carolina, they're not in the South.
No, it's the South. It's a beautiful state.
Nah, it's a beautiful state, man. It's so far. It's just beautiful there, man.
Oh, yeah.
I love it. I was this close to moving. Once I got my family established, I was that close to just going back. But ended up staying, and man, it's still in the plans though.
No.
Go out there, try to get out there every year, but at least every other year.
Cool.
So yeah, man, it's one of those places that it's a beautiful place, man. With that being said, we're gonna go into our fast five of the show, man. That's why I asked you five. I usually have a sound effect going, but we're gonna get it. I usually have my sound effects going, but we're gonna do 5 questions.
Let's do it.
First one is, with that being said, where would you go if you could visit any place on earth?
Man, at this point, I've become really interested in going to Africa, Ghana, Johannesburg. I really want to see what the quote unquote motherland looks like, and I want to kind of see how the entrepreneurs over there are moving. We see a lot, on social media and YouTube and stuff like that, but I really want to see it for myself. So if I go anywhere right now, it's gonna be Africa. In fact, I'm getting close to booking a trip and going.
Okay. If you could invite anybody to dinner, or 3 people to dinner, who would it be?
Man, probably Malcolm X would be one, because I want to pick his brain on some of the things that he saw towards the end of his life. I know he started to change kind of how he viewed the world.
Yeah.
So definitely Malcolm X would be one. I think Ida B. Wells. She was one of the early voices in the whole civil rights movement, and she was actually before civil rights. And she wrote a lot of books. She was well before civil rights, in all honesty. But she wrote a lot of books about lynchings and how Black people weren't being treated fairly. And I think her voice kind of got silenced because some of the guys, W.B. Du Bois and people like that, Frederick Douglass had, they were men, and at that time women didn't have the voice that they have now. But I think Ida B. Wells is another person that I definitely want to hang out with, just to pick her brain, ask her some questions about how I could be more successful as a Black man in business and navigating certain unfamiliar territories that I get in. And probably last but not least, man, would be, probably Barack Obama, man, because, he was a very smooth brother. He was well-spoken, but, man, he did the unthinkable. He became the president of the United States as an African American man. So I think a lot of what we talk about now is, how the playing field is not equal, and what can we do as a community to become more successful. But I think we got, a man that was able to, however he did it, was able to, charismatically manipulate his way into the White House. So I'd love to learn the laws of power that he used to be able to get people to buy into his strategies and buy into his overall message. So that I think those would be like the three people that that I would want to sit down and talk with. Not anybody really today, and it's not that I don't follow people today. It's just that I'm more so interested in what happened generations ago.
Their influence is still relevant today.
Well, to be honest with you, like I think that when you look back to the early 1900s and you look back into at areas like in Tennessee where we had an African American bus line, and you look at all these communities. I mean, you could go to Menden, you can go to Shreveport. A lot of these little small areas had thriving Black communities with Black business owners. And I would argue that now we're doing a lot worse than what we were doing 100 years ago. So why wouldn't I want to meet them from back in the day to learn what they, Tulsa, the Black Wall Street, areas like that, man. I want to pick their brain.
Right. I feel you on that, man. Oh yeah, shout out to Barack Obama making the decision for the team to be and go and get Osama, Bin Laden is 9/11,
Well, hey, I'm gonna stay away from that. That's a whole conversation in his own.
He okayed it. However it went, he was a part of it.
Right, no doubt.
If you were going on the deserted island, what's one thing you would take? One thing.
Man, honestly, I would take a guide on how to live off the grid.
Okay.
Knowing how to start a fire, knowing how to fish without a fishing pole, knowing how to live off the land. I would take a book that would tell me how to live off the land.
Okay. And last one. If you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Man, honestly, I think if I would have a superpower, man, it would be to change depression as it relates to the African American man. So many friends and colleagues and people that I've talked to who, man, we have so many traumas and things that we go through as men. And it's not to look down on other races or the Black woman and everything. But if I had one superpower, man, it would be to energize, motivate, and to push the Black man to become entrepreneurs, man. Because I think that in order for us to really get to where in order for us to really see the increase in our community, to reduce crime, to increase the literacy rate in our children, I think it's very important that the Black man is motivated, because so much stuff lies on our shoulders. So the kids that are coming up now, they have to see us operating, at the highest level, man. So give me that superpower. Motivate Black men to drink more water, work out, be fit. I can tell you stay. You
try to do a little bit, man.
Right.
Man,
physical fitness,
not all the way, but
physical fitness. Mental health. Having groups where we can come together and talk about our struggles. It's so important because the financial struggles that you go through, that I go through, it's a guy out there that's about to commit suicide right now because he can't, put food on the table because he's been laid off, and he don't know that that's just a natural hurdle that we have to overcome all the time. So having the information out there, having that superpower to keep our brothers in line, man, is one that I would want to have.
Cool. So with that, man, give the people a quote of the day, some motivation for any day, but what words would you give?
Man, I don't know that I could give them a quote. I've had my head down for a while. I read and everything like that, so I'm not gonna give them a quote.
Gotcha.
But I think look. The one thing that I'm gonna say is let's look into entrepreneurship. Because in order for us to be financially free, to build our communities, young Black people, in particular. We got to go into entrepreneurship.
Right.
We can't keep, just working for these companies and not building up our own communities. We all got to look into entrepreneurship. It's enough to go around. If you have a barbershop, I come in here and get my hair cut. If I have a real estate company, you utilize me when you're looking to buy your house. Another person may have a grocery store. We go there and shop and get our food. Money is meant to make a circle throughout the community.
Right.
And that's, when I say information, that's the information that we haven't had. So we operate from a scarcity mindset. So when I have $100, I'm trying to keep it in my pocket, and I don't want to share it with my brother.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna go and I'm gonna spend it on Nikes. I'm gonna go and spend it on this and that, and you keep giving it to the other communities that they take the money and they make circles with it. So I think Black people got to figure out how we can come into entrepreneurship and work together as a team and make our money, make a circle throughout our community. It's really hard. It's complex. We need a lot of support with that, but motivate your kids to look into entrepreneurship because we need that to keep our community elevated and really get our community to the next level.
Right, man. Shout out to my son, Threads by Trey. Y'all grab y'all always humble Bearcat shirts. Putting them into it, man.
Perfect.
He saw it, said he wanted to do it, so we, full-fledged, let's do it.
I paid my way through college selling shoes, and clothes.
Yeah.
One of the best jobs I ever had was pulling up and popping my trunk.
Yeah.
Pulling the clothes out, selling it, peddling it. I learned a lot throughout that journey, so I think that's dope that you got him doing it.
Yeah, man. Shout out to my wife for she do the 90% of the work.
Okay, that's important.
I'm about 2% and he do the rest.
Perfect.
But we really he really dove into it, and he motivated. He took some courses with World and Vision.
Okay.
Yeah, with those guys.
Oh, they're great. They're great.
Yeah.
I love them.
That's when we knew he was serious, when he wanted to do that. So
perfect.
We in it now. Oh man, what's next for you?
Right now, obviously with my real estate brokerage, I've really kind of carved out a niche now.
Yeah.
So I'm only focusing on commercial and residential income stuff. So like duplex, triplex, apartment complexes. So right now I'm really marketing that aspect of my business and looking to grow that side of the company. And obviously I'm always looking to acquire more rental properties. Just purchased one a few days ago with my little brother.
Okay.
So we're trying to kind of grow a different wing, of a business together.
Family business.
Family business. So right now those two things are what I'm really focused on, and then obviously like anything, just focusing on being a better father. My daughter made the homecoming court at Ruston High. Son playing football. My youngest daughter looking to do cheer.
Yeah.
So just trying to make sure I'm there for them and giving them what they need. And at the end of the day, have to be selfish a little bit and give myself. But the older I get, the more I'm learning, man. We can only kind of be great at one thing. So I'm really trying to focus on being great at one thing and not a million.
And man, I know it's a little off subject, but that's why I feel like I'm a sports fan. Why I feel like LeBron hadn't won as many championships, because you can only be great at one thing, and he's great at being a father, at least from my view of it, and those others, I'm not gonna say the names, but 6 championships, 7 championships, the relationships wasn't
well.
You could only be one, right? Like that's what I was just.
Well, LeBron is a great father, but he's also he's a great player.
Yeah.
And I think that we could probably argue that the times that he's lost, the opposing teams have just been a lot better. That Golden State team that beat him, come on, man. KD, Steph, Clay. It's too stacked.
There's no way he was going.
Exactly. The years early in his career when he lost to Boston, the big three and then the supporting cast that they had.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, he's, you know, when he's lost, it's been because I mean he was going up against some stacked teams.
He's never gone up against any.
But 9 finals in a row.
Yeah.
Come on, man. I mean, that's the GOAT. That's GOAT talk.
Yeah, it's insane, though.
We'll get a lot of hate though. They'll cancel your podcast today. We start talking about Bron in a good way.
Oh man. Hey, y'all don't watch him. He crazy now.
Yeah. You got any more questions? Anybody asking the questions?
Nobody else asked no questions, man.
What's up?
Yeah, man. We had a steady group of people come through.
Mm-hmm.
That's really it. That's the show. You got anything for me, man? Any?
Thank you for coming. You know, I mean, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
And you know, obviously, you know, as I, you know, get a little bit more down the line and what I'm doing, man. If you ever want to have me back, man, we can crank this thing up and
of course,
man. I can come do a how-to one day or something like that. You know, anything.
Of course. No, we can definitely do
But
that.
follow me, but make sure they follow me, you know, and obviously you can tag me in this and
I
my
will.
stuff up so they can follow me, and then I'll keep giving that knowledge out, man.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you for coming, man. It's always good to have somebody come and drop some gems, man. Because it's like you say, we need the information.
Yeah. Most important.
It's vital.
Yep.
You know, so keep giving the information out, man. Keep dropping them gems. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep being an influence to everybody that you're influencing. We never know who we influence.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? So we just gotta show integrity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we just gotta be consistent.
Yep.
That's one of the main things, is being consistent of who we are. You know, so man, you keep those things in the chamber, it's to the roof, man, and beyond.
I agree, bro.
So, man, once again, I thank you for coming on today's episode of Fats Barbershop Club. Real topics, real views from real people, and we had a real one in the building. My guy, Mr. Mikel Key.
Yes, sir.
Bro, appreciate you.
All right, bro.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And we out.
Whew. That was good, man.
Yes, sir.
That was due.